It was one of those crisp, golden autumn mornings that seemed like a gift, a pause before the gray of winter blanketed our small town. Nathan had already left for work, his side of our bed still warm when I stretched my arm across it. I lingered a moment longer, enjoying the quiet. The day awaited, filled with client emails and design drafts. But first, laundry. Mundane, yet strangely meditative. As I gathered a pile of clothes, Nathan's jacket from last night's dinner caught my eye. It lay crumpled on a chair, a casualty of his exhaustion after a long day. I smiled, thinking of how he'd tried to keep the conversation light, to make me laugh, despite the weariness tugging at his eyes. That was Nathan, always trying to make everything seem all right. I checked the pockets before throwing the jacket into the wash. A routine check, usually empty, sometimes a receipt or loose change. But today, my fingers closed around a piece of paper. Pulling it out, I unfolded a bank statement that wasn't from any of our joint accounts. My brow furrowed as I scanned the details. The account was in Nathan's name, but what struck a cold wave of worry through me was a series of payments to a Julia Roberts. Not the actress, surely, but who then? My heart thumped a frantic rhythm. Thoughts raced. Debt? Blackmail? No, Nathan would have told me. Would he? Sitting at our kitchen table, statement in hand, the coffee I'd poured earlier sat forgotten, steam no longer rising from the cup. I should confront him, ask him directly. Yet part of me dreaded the answer. What if it shattered the calm comfort of our life together? What if I wasn't ready for the truth hidden in those dry, transactional lines of bank text? The rest of the day blurred into a haze of worry and work, my thoughts never straying far from the folded paper now burning a hole in my desk drawer. When the sound of Nathan's key turning in the lock echoed through the hallway that evening, my stomach knotted. This was it. Time to find out what secrets lay veiled behind his tired smiles. "Hey, love," Nathan called out, his voice carrying the warmth it always did. He appeared in the kitchen doorway, loosening his tie, a ritual marking the end of his workday facade. "How was your day?" I turned to face him, the bank statement now feeling like a lead weight in my pocket. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the tremor I felt inside. "It's important." Nathan's smile faltered, his brow creasing slightly. "Of course," he replied, his tone cautious. "What's on your mind?" "It's about a bank statement I found in your jacket," I started, watching his face closely. The color drained from his cheeks, a silent confirmation that this was no small matter. "Who is Julia Roberts, Nathan? And why are you making payments to her?" The kitchen, warm from the oven's lingering heat, suddenly felt stifling as I waited for his answer, each second stretching taut between us. Nathan sighed, a deep, weary exhalation. He pulled out a chair and sat down, motioning for me to do the same. "I was going to tell you," he began, his eyes not meeting mine. "Julia is a private investigator. I hired her because I've been trying to find someone for you." My heart skipped a beat. "For me? What do you mean?" He finally looked up, his gaze earnest. "I've been trying to find your sister, Claire. I thought it would be a surprise, a good one. I wanted to help you reconnect." The revelation hit me in waves, surprise, confusion, a touch of betrayal. Why hadn't he just told me? As relief slowly washed over the initial shock, a myriad of questions took its place. Was this all there was to the story? Or was Nathan still holding back? The night was about to get much longer as we delved into a conversation that would either mend or further strain the seams of our trust. The silence that fell between us was thick, each second stretching endlessly as I processed Nathan's words. My sister, whom I hadn't seen since we were children, scattered by a family feud that left deep grooves in our lives. And Nathan, my husband, the man I trusted with my heart, had kept this a secret? "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" My voice was a whisper, fragile and uncertain. Across the table, Nathan looked weary, the lines around his eyes more pronounced in the dim kitchen light. "I wanted it to be a surprise, Claire." His voice was earnest, pleading almost. "I thought if I could bring her back into your life, it would, I don't know, make you happy. But secrets don't make us happy, Nathan. They build walls. I felt the weight of each word as I spoke them, watching his reaction closely. He flinched slightly, as if the truth of my words had physically struck him. I know I messed up. He ran his fingers through his hair, a gesture of frustration and stress I had come to recognize over the years. I should have shared my plan with you. I thought the end result would justify the means. But it doesn't, Nathan. It just makes me wonder what else you haven't told me. The distrust that tinged my voice was new, unfamiliar, and uncomfortable. Nathan reached across the table, his hand stopping midair before retreating. There's nothing else, Claire. I promise. This was it. I just wanted to do something good. I sighed, leaning back in my chair, feeling the cool wood through the thin fabric of my shirt. I need some time to think about all this, Nathan. I appreciate what you tried to do, but the way you went about it, my voice trailed off, lost in the cacophony of thoughts clanging loudly in my mind. Nathan nodded, his expression somber. I understand. Take all the time you need. I'm here, and I'll answer whatever questions you might have. No more secrets, I promise. The promise hung in the air, fragile and tentative. As I stood up from the table, the chair scraping softly against the tile floor broke the tense silence. I think I'll go for a walk. Clear my head a bit. Want some company? Nathan's offer was gentle, hopeful. I paused at the door, hand on the knob, and shook my head. Not this time. I need to sort through this alone. Stepping out into the crisp evening, the chill of the air was a sharp contrast to the warmth of our kitchen. The sky was a tapestry of twilight, stars beginning to dot the heavens, and as I walked, the layers of my marriage peeled back in my mind, revealing complexities I hadn't noticed before. Was transparency too much to ask for in a marriage? Or was I holding on to an ideal that couldn't exist in reality? The quiet streets of our neighborhood, usually comforting, now echoed my turbulent thoughts. Each step took me further away from Nathan. Yet somehow, I felt closer to understanding the precarious balance between love and trust. As I turned back home, the decision of what to do next weighed heavily on me. Could I let this go? Or was this the first thread to unravel a tapestry we'd woven together so carefully over the years? The morning after our conversation felt like waking up in a parallel version of my life, where the familiar contours of my marriage were now tinged with shadows of doubt. Over breakfast, Nathan tried to bridge the gap with his usual cheer, making us pancakes, the thick, fluffy kind that usually cheered me up. But today, they sat heavy on my plate, much like the questions heavy on my heart. I think I'll go see Julia today, I said abruptly, the words spilling out before I could weigh them. Nathan, mid-flip of a pancake, stilled. His back was to me, but I could see the tension in the way he held his shoulders. Are you sure? I can come with you if you like, he offered, turning to look at me with a careful, measured expression. No, I need to do this alone. My response was gentle, yet firm. As much as I appreciated his offer, this was a journey I needed to embark on by myself. The drive to Julia's office was short, but my thoughts stretched the road into miles. What was I hoping to find? Confirmation of Nathan's story, or evidence of more secrets? Julia's office was in a small, unassuming building downtown, sandwiched between a coffee shop and a vintage bookstore. Inside, the decor was sparse, functional, yet welcoming. Julia greeted me with a professional warmth that did little to ease the knot in my stomach. Claire, what can I do for you? Her voice was smooth, practiced. I wanted to talk about the investigation you're conducting for my husband. I got straight to the point, my hands clasped tightly in my lap. Of course, Julia nodded, her eyes assessing. Nathan told me he's shared everything with you. He has. I started, then hesitated. But I needed to hear it from you. The whole process, how you found her. Julia leaned back in her chair, her gaze direct. I understand. Trust is important. Nathan approached me about 6 months ago. He wanted discretion, given the sensitive nature of finding a family member after so long. I've located your sister, and we're in the preliminary stages of reaching out. And there's nothing else? No other reason he hired you? The question hung between us, charged and heavy. Julia paused, then sighed. Claire, I'm not just a PI, I'm someone people confide in. Nathan came to me out of love for you. Yes, he's stressed, overwhelmed by keeping this a secret, but his intentions, they're pure. Her words should have reassured me, yet they opened a new flood of doubt about why Nathan felt he couldn't share this burden with me. Why the secrecy if his motives were so pure? Thank you, Julia. I appreciate your candor, I said as we stood, the meeting drawing to a close. Of course. And Claire? Julia added as I reached the door. Sometimes the weight of a surprise can cloud our judgment. It doesn't mean the heart behind it isn't true. Her words echoed in my mind all the way home. Nathan was waiting, anxious. Seeing him, the familiar rush of love flooded through me, mingling confusingly with my swirling doubts. We need to talk, I said as I walked in, my voice stronger than I felt. Anything, Claire, he replied, his voice laden with his own mix of hope and fear. As we sat, the late afternoon light casting long shadows across the living room, I took a deep breath. This was it, the moment to confront not just the secrets, but the spaces between us that had grown quietly, insidiously. Nathan, why didn't you trust me enough to share this from the beginning? I asked, needing to understand. He looked away, struggling with the weight of the question. I thought I had to do it all, fix it all before I could present it to you, to make you happy. But I don't need grand gestures, Nathan. I need you, all of you, even the parts that are a work in progress. My words were a bridge, and I hoped he would meet me halfway. Nathan reached for my hand, his touch tentative but sure. I'm here now, Claire. No more secrets. I promise. Let's fix this. Together. And as we talked into the evening, the gap between us began to close, stitched by the threads of honesty and the quiet, steadfast commitment to rebuild what we had into something even stronger. The next few weeks felt like walking through a fog, each day blending into the next with a sameness that was both comforting and unsettling. Nathan and I had begun to navigate our new reality, one where open conversations replaced the uneasy silences that had started to creep into our evenings. I think we should see someone about this, I suggested one morning over coffee, the steam curling up between us like a visible reminder of the warmth we were trying to restore. A therapist, I mean. Nathan paused, his cup halfway to his lips. You think it's that bad? His voice was tinged with a mixture of fear and resignation. I think it's that necessary, I corrected gently. We've been skirting around things for too long, and if we're going to clear the air, we might need help. He nodded slowly, setting his cup down. Okay, let's do it. If it's important to you, it's important to me. Finding a therapist felt like another step in a journey I wasn't sure I was ready for, but knew was essential. Dr. Ellis came recommended as a marital counselor, known for her direct approach, a trait I figured we'd need. Our first session was awkward. The office a neutral space filled with soft chairs and softer lighting, designed to put us at ease. It didn't work. We were both tense, sitting on the edge of our seats, literally and metaphorically. So, Claire, Nathan, what brings you here? Dr. Ellis began, her pen poised over a notepad. Nathan glanced at me, giving me the floor. I took a deep breath. We've had some trust issues, I started, trying to keep my voice steady. Nathan kept something from me, something important, and it's shaken us up pretty badly. Dr. Ellis nodded, her expression unreadable. Nathan, do you want to share your perspective? He swallowed, looking down before meeting her gaze. I thought I was doing the right thing. I was trying to solve a problem on my own, to make Claire happy, but I went about it all wrong. Can you tell me why you felt you needed to handle it alone? She probed. Nathan hesitated, his hands clasped tightly together. I guess I wanted to be her hero, to fix things so she wouldn't have to deal with the mess. I didn't want to burden her. Dr. Ellis scribbled something down, then looked up. Nathan, do you often feel the need to protect Claire from difficulties? He nodded. Always. It's my job to take care of her. And Claire, how does that make you feel? Dr. Ellis turned to me. It makes me feel loved, yes. but also isolated. Like I'm not a full partner in this relationship, I admitted, feeling a weight lift as the words left my lips. Dr. Ellis's next question was directed at both of us. How can you move forward, together, from this? It was a question neither of us had considered fully, and it hung in the air between us, heavy and daunting. Over the next hour, we dug into those feelings, uncovering layers of unspoken expectations and silent fears that had built up like sediment in our marriage. Nathan confessed his anxieties about being inadequate, about not living up to the role he had set for himself as my protector, my provider. And Claire, how does it make you feel, hearing this? Dr. Ellis asked. It makes me sad, I said, turning to Nathan. Sad that you feel that way. I don't need protection. I need partnership. Nathan reached out, taking my hand. I know, I'm sorry. I want to do better, to be better. Dr. Ellis smiled, a small, encouraging curve of her lips. That's a good place to start. Let's talk about ways you can both contribute to solving problems together, as equal partners. As we left her office that day, there was a sense of tentative hope. It was fragile, yes, but it was there, a tiny seed that, with care, might just grow into something strong and enduring. The drive home was quiet, but it was a comfortable silence, filled with unspoken promises and shared understanding. We can do this, Nathan said as we pulled into our driveway, the sunset casting long shadows across our front lawn. Yes, I agreed, feeling for the first time in weeks that we truly could. Therapy sessions became a regular part of our weekly routine, each visit peeling back another layer of our relationship, revealing the raw, sometimes painful truths beneath. We learned to communicate better, to express our fears without the veil of pretense that had subtly divided us. It wasn't easy, but the more we shared, the lighter we felt. One particularly chilly evening, after a therapy session that had opened old wounds to clean them properly, Nathan and I sat wrapped in blankets on our back porch, watching the stars emerge in the twilight sky. Claire, Nathan began, his voice soft, hesitant. I've been thinking a lot about what Dr. Ellis said about teamwork, about being partners, not just in marriage, but in everything. I turned to look at him, encouraged by his reflective tone. I've been thinking about that too, I admitted. It feels like we're finally on the same page. He nodded, squeezing my hand gently. I want to make a promise to you, here and now. I vow to be honest, to share the burdens and to listen, not just hear, but really listen. I felt a warmth spread through me, not just from the blanket or his hand in mine, but from his words. And I promise to ask for help when I need it, to trust you with not just the good parts of my day, but also the challenges, to really be your partner. We sat in silence for a moment, letting the promises hang in the air, solid and significant. Do you remember our first date? Nathan asked, a hint of a smile tugging at his lips. How could I forget? I laughed softly. You took me to that terrible Italian restaurant where the pasta was so bad we ended up eating ice cream for dinner. Nathan chuckled. I was so embarrassed, but you were amazing about it. You turned a disaster into one of the best nights of my life. I realized then that it wasn't about where we were or what we ate, but who I was with, I said, leaning my head on his shoulder. I think it's the same now. It's not about the mistakes or the missteps, but who we are together and how we move forward. Nathan kissed the top of my head, a simple gesture that spoke volumes. I love you, Claire, more than ever. I love you too, Nathan. We've got this. The certainty in my voice surprised even me, but it was true. I felt it, deep down. As we made our way back inside, the warmth of the house embraced us. It was the same space we had shared for years, but it felt different now, like a home rebuilt, stronger and more secure than before. The months that followed were a testament to the strength of our commitment. We laughed more, argued less, and when we did disagree, it was with respect and understanding. We learned to support each other in ways we hadn't known we'd neglected, filling in the gaps and strengthening our bond. And one evening, sitting together on that same back porch, Nathan handed me an envelope. "I think it's time," he said with a smile. Inside was the information Julia had finally gathered about my sister. It was a chance to reconnect, to perhaps heal another part of my past. But this time, I wouldn't be facing it alone. "Let's do this together," I said, my hand firmly in his. "Yes, together," he agreed, his eyes reflecting the starlight, bright with hope. As we planned our next steps, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. It wasn't just the resolution of one conflict, but the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with mutual support, shared responsibilities, and deeper love. We had not only repaired what was broken, but had built something new, something better, on the foundations of honesty, respect, and unconditional love. And as I shared our journey in a blog post that night, inviting others to learn from our experience, I realized that our story could inspire hope and courage in others facing similar struggles. The response was overwhelming, with countless messages of support and gratitude, a community forming from shared struggles and shared triumphs. In the quiet that settled after I closed my laptop, I knew that this was just the beginning. With Nathan by my side, there were no limits to what we could overcome, and that was the most beautiful realization of all. Have you ever navigated the tricky waters of trust and communication in a relationship? How have you and your partner worked through misunderstandings or secrets? Share your stories and experiences in the comments below. Let's support each other in our journeys to build stronger, more honest relationships. Your story could be the beacon of hope or the piece of advice someone else needs. Join our community discussion, and let's learn from each other's challenges and triumphs. Connect with us here or on our social media platforms. We're all in this together, so let's make the most of our collective wisdom and experiences.